I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, we're going to review the new record from St. Vincent called Strange Mercy. This is St. Vincent's third record. St. Vincent was a former member of
Polyphonic
Spree, which they're kind of a crazy old group. They did some... I actually have one or two of their albums that I really liked a few years ago. But then when I actually heard, I wasn't exposed to St. Vincent until we reviewed Actor, you know, over a year and a half ago. It's one of the early reviews.
Came out in 2009.
And then now this follow-up. And apparently, some background information regarding Strange Mercy. Apparently, Annie Clark locked herself. She wanted to go into like this isolation phase, so for pretty much 3 months she locked herself in an apartment and just kind of recorded this thing. And I find that whenever I hear the words isolation and recording in the same sentence, good album is also associated as the output of that, because that's exactly what happened with Fleet Foxes, although that's a totally different sound.
Panda Bear's Tomboy.
Panda Bear's Tomboy, which I really liked this year. So, Strange Mercy, well, if you've ever listened to St. Vincent, it's dark, it's creepy, and most of her work has some sort of dark and creepy vibes to it. Although she uses a lot of electronics to make it kind of sound like it would be kind of some sort of synth pop, but it's not synth pop at all. It's super twisted, and she has this haunting voice, and I love her voice, and the lyrics she applies. I mean, the whole package that she gives the listener is really just a kind of a dark experience. And this album just follows suit. And this album, I think, is her most aggressive work I've heard. And one thing that I noticed, Tom, about this is all the guitars that are just covered in this album.
And you gotta love the production on the guitars. How they're so noisy, yet somehow they don't rub you the wrong way. They're like you welcome it. Just this gritty, noisy guitar coming right at you against what a lot of the time is pretty, you know, kind of soft, like synth and fluttering electronic stuff, just kind of filling in the space, and then these just pounding beats.
And that's something that you know me, and hopefully those of you who are longtime VIMTV viewers know about me, is that I love dynamic contrast, or any sort of just blatant black and white contrast in a song. So St. Vincent nails that in her songwriting style, when you just have that distorted guitar come in and just totally offset. Out of nowhere, where it might just be focusing on, you know, the drum beat and her voice for a second, and then you'll just have bang, bang, come in, and that is really powerful, and it grabs the listener's attention. It says, hey, this is serious, listen here, I got dark shit to talk about. and that's what she does throughout this album. Now, one thing I wanted to say before I completely turn it over to you, the first 4 tracks on this album, to me, are mind-blowing. Chloe in the Afternoon, Cruel, Cheerleader, and then Surgeon. I can't get over how much I love these tracks. And I'll get into this later, how this is actually a double-edged sword for this album. But Tom and I, before we turn the camera on, we're just talking about how track 2, Cruel, we both think that this is one of the best tracks to come out in 2011. Definitely, you guys have to check out that track, let alone this whole album. So.
And if you like the general sound of that track, check out the rest of this album, because it'll be a good indicator. But I think, you know, to get my gripes out of the way here, I think what it comes down to for me is just the simple case of some of these tracks I really like, and some of them I don't. And that's going to be different for all people. Jake and I were just talking before we turned the camera on that you know, a couple of his favorite tracks are a couple of my least favorite, and vice versa. So for me, what kind of kills it and brings it down is that tracks 9, 10, and 11, Dilettante, Hysterical Strength, and Year of the Tiger, just slump off for me. I don't like any of those 3 tracks a whole lot. None of them are terrible, but when you're following a lot of really strong songs, and then the last, you know, a quarter of the album just doesn't pick it back up for you. You know, maybe it will for some of you, it just didn't for me. Then it's going to bring down my score a little bit. And I think this is also a case where her previous album, Actor, acts as a good contrast to this, because I think that while there are a lot of stronger individual tracks on Actor, for me, this album flowed so much better. It works as one focused unit of music a lot better than any of her previous work that I've heard.
It was really evident that this is a very personal record to Annie, and that's something that I want to see in an album or want to hear in an album when I'm listening to it. I want to hear that this meant something to them, because if you can't tell that the record means something to the artist, then really, what's the point of them making the record? Did the record label tell them that they had to and they just did? I mean, other than that, right, it does happen. I mean, Bob Dylan is known for that. And, and really, I think that kind of defeats the purpose of music. Music should come from, the soul, and it should be evoked, and then other people will experience that and translate that into their own personal experience. I mean, that's the beauty of it. And I feel like that St. Vincent accomplishes that with Strange Mercy. My biggest gripe is that I think the first 4 tracks on this album are so good, I have trouble listening to the rest.
You just want to hit those 4 on repeat?
I put this album on, and I kind of feel like it's You within Rainbows, when you just listen to the first 2 tracks, you're like, wow, the rest of the album, that's the way I kind of feel about this. And it's not that the back, 7 songs or 6 songs are weaker or bad. It's just when you have 4 just killer tracks right at the beginning of the album, it kind of puts the weight of the album in the beginning. To disagree with you a little bit, I thought Dilettante was incredible. And one of the moments of true brilliance at the end of the album. But I totally agree with you when you said that these songs are going to hit you differently. Yeah. But as a whole, this album is very well balanced in how it was designed. So
designed very well.
Yeah, and for that reason, I felt like this was a very good album. Now I'm giving it an 85. And I actually like the score I gave the previous record.
Actor?
Yeah, and I think that while they're very, very, very complimentary records, I do feel like that one was slightly stronger than this one.
Yeah.
But on an independent level, this is an 85 for me.
I'm going 77. I really did like this. It didn't blow me away, but it's a very enjoyable album.
Cool. What did you guys think about Strange Mercy? Leave us a comment at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. I'm also interested in knowing what's your favorite St. Vincent album, so tell us, because that's great feedback.
Yeah.
Check out our Facebook and Twitter, and I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.